If you love fat quarters, I have the perfect quilt for you, the Quick Quarter Quilt. We'll say that 3 times. What a tongue twister. You know, it's easier to make than to say. All of the quilts are made out of fat quarters or 1/4 yard pieces. Teresa Barnes made this quilt titled Our Trip to Kauai. Now the colors remind her of her vacation with her daughters, Melissa and Amber. She remembers sitting on the beach with Melissa and watching Amber learn how to surf for the first time. Amy Potter even quilted the ocean on the quilt with large swells. That's just for Amber. You know, even the backing looks like the ocean. It's queen size from 24 fat quarters. I made this quick quarter quilt to freshen up one of my bedrooms at the Bear's Paw for the holidays. I used only 21 fat quarters instead of the required 24 for a twin. Well, since it's shorter than a regular twin, I made pillow shams to compensate for the length. Well, with a red wreath hanging above this quilt, the room is dressed for the holidays. Well, Teresa also made this lap robe titled My Fall Trip to Julian. It was inspired by her quick trip to Camp Cedar Glen, our camp for quilters. Well, the ground is always covered with leaves of gold, brown, and rust. At that time of the season, it's wonderful. The colors, combined with crisp air, make it a wonderful trip that we all look forward to each year. In place of the second border, she sewed an extra set of half strips, cut them into 3.5-inch sections, and pieced them together. Well, Teresa used gold flannel for the back, so it is very cozy. It's a wonderful gold color, too. Sue Bouchard chose these fabrics from Africa for her friends Charles and Jeffrey. They are exchange students from Kenya. She thought the colors would remind them of their home, hanging in their dorm room. Well, how beautiful. There's zebra and leopard prints and a wonderful moss green in the fabrics. And the backing fabric is just totally wild with huge orange and green circles. Gail Yakos made this lap robe following a quick trip to the Painted Desert. She said, near sunset, purple shadows splashed across the hills and valleys. The colors in her quilt are the last scene she remembers from that day. Lois Flint quilted large desert flowers all over the quilt for Gail. And all of this beauty from only 12 fat quarters. Well, if you can say Quick Quarter Quilt 3 times, you can join us and learn how to make this quilt. This quick quarter quilt is one that you can use your large scale floral prints all together, and they look beautiful. Well, my sister Patty picked the 24 fat quarters that range from black to soft pale colors for this queen size quilt. Now, this was Patty's inspiration piece. It's a morning glory. Well, from this one piece, she selected 3 color families. She did black, magenta, and lavender. Now, starting up here, black is repeated several times in different scales of prints. Green then pulls the eye from black into magenta fabrics placed in progressive order from bright to light. Well, this light fabric is a transition fabric. It separates the families, yet it unites them by using some of the same colors. Well, lavenders follow with a gradual change in value, and then more black with purple. And I just love this touch of yellow down in the corner. It's wonderful. You know, it's amazing that this all comes from 24 fat quarters. Now you get this interesting cascading effect by cutting the tubes different widths. For instance, this is cut at 3.5, 3.5, but then we've got a 2.25 inch, and then we go back to 3.5, and so on. It's just beautiful. Well, now I'm going to show you how to make a smaller version in crib size. It's just a beautiful garden of flowers. I love it. Well, I have my 12 fabrics already cut into 4-inch strips. Now, if you're using a quarter yard, you cut one salvage to salvage 4-inch piece. If you have fat quarters, you cut 2 4-inch half strips. Easy to do. And I took those and I've already sewn them all together, all 12 half strips in this big, beautiful piece, ready to go. Now, I want to give you a tip on directional flowers. This one is directional. Now, I know I want your flowers to grow straight up out of the ground. Well, on this piece, the cut edge is up here and the salvage is in the opposite edge. The flowers are all growing up. But I just want you to realize when you do the second piece, so the flowers grow up, you're going to have to put the salvage here and the cut edge on the opposite edge, only on the directional ones. Well, then take this whole piece and from number 1, press all of your fabrics in one direction. And once that's pressed, then all you have to do is take number 1 and fold it right sides together to your very last number, which in this case for the crib is number 12. Fold it right sides together, sew this seam, and turn it into a tube. What a tube. This is a nice big tube this time. You know, this tube is so big that you actually have to take this tube and fold it in half like this. Now, I'm going to show you how to cut those different measurements so you get that cascading effect. I'm going to just start right over here. There is the salvage from that directional piece. So the first thing I want to do is just cut off at 1 inch. I've included that salvage. I'm going to take that and get rid of it. Now, you have to cut exactly like this so you get the correct number. You need to have 4 3.5-inch strips, and the reason that you're doing that is because you want to get the number of 3.5-inch strips that you need. You need to have 4 of them out of each piece, and if you cut 2 strip sets, you're going to get a total of 8. Perfect for a crib. The next measurement is 2 1/4, and out of this piece you can see I'm getting close to the edge. I need to have 2 2 1/4 pieces, and I am in luck because the last piece that I want out of this whole strip set is 2 inches. Amazing. I got it, and I just have that little bit of salvage left. Well, let me get my second strip set cut, and I'll show you how to get those tubes in order. Instead of throwing away my salvage strip, I saved it. And then I wrote the numbers of each one of these pieces in order on the salvage because I am going to need this right now. Next, I took all of my varying widths of fabrics and stacked them up in order. And I always like to place them with number 1 up at the top. And see how the seam always goes down. Well, this is the first one that is 2 1/4 inches. And so I have number 1 at the top. Here is the seam right here. All I want to do is just take my scissors and cut right on those stitches. So it actually opens it. That you can get rid of. This is the far left of the quilt. You open that up and place it, and look at that. Those flowers are in order. Well, the second one is also 2 1/4 inches. We're starting out with some of the skinny ones, but this time I want to go from number 1 to number 12. So I'm just going to roll it. Roll it like that. This is number 12 right here. I'm going to line up my seams like this so that I can just go ahead and cut number 12 in half. Line it up like that, cut it in half, and place it beside the first one. And now you can already see that these strips, the design is going down. Okay, let's pick up the second one. We've got a nice fat one, 3 1/2 inches. Okay, here's number 1. Let's roll it forward so we get the last number, 12. We just cut 12 in half, so I'm just going to allow a whole 12 right there. cut it on the stitches. Doo-doo, like this. This is so much fun. No unsewing on these. Get rid of that. Open up this nice fat one and place it beside the others. And now you can see how the pattern's coming along there. Well, this is always the rule. You cut whole and then you cut the same number in half. So let's see. This was 1. I rolled it. This was 12. I have a whole 12 up there. So I've got to go to 11 right now and actually cut that in half. So line it up. Kind of go backwards on this one. It's not quite like the one that you make diamonds on. Okay, and let's just put it right in place. Well, it's great if you can lay out the whole pattern before you start sewing. It's easier to correct it if you need to. Now, once you have all of these strips laid out and you're sure that it's perfect, you're going to start on the left edge and just flip it right sides together. These are long suckers. Oh my gosh, these are long. So just start up at the top. The best part is there's no matching. It would be really good if they were the same at the top and same at the bottom. Line them up. But I just pull them out like this and just start. All the seams are going to go down. You don't have to fight them. I will never forget the day I was nearly done with this book, and my sister Patty called up and she said, "Hold the book." She said, "I'm down in this quilt shop. I'm looking at all of these beautiful floral fabrics, and I have a great idea." Well, Patty does that to me all the time, and then it's a new rewrite to get her version of the quick trip in order. She just does such a beautiful job, however. Okay, now I'm getting down towards the bottom. So all I'm going to do is just take these pieces and line them up, hold on to them tight, and keep on going right down to the bottom. Now you don't need to do any pressing right at this step. You're just going to continue from the top to the bottom of each one of these strips. I wanted to show you how I planned to do the borders. Ooh, they're gonna be beautiful. So let's just put them right back here. There was a lot of black in this quilt, so I chose to do this light framing border first. It's a 2-inch wide strip and it's just gonna contain all of these beautiful florals. Well, next I decided a black folded border would be just great. It's a 1 1/4 inch strip and they are pressed wrong sides together, pressed in half, wrong sides together. When you sew on a folded border, you line up raw edges and sew with a longer stitch length. I do 3.0 on my sewing machine. And then the crowning glory to this whole quilt is this beautiful magenta. It's just going to cut right along there, just a tiny bit of that black showing around there, and it's gonna be beautiful. I'm known for my traditional looking quilts, but this is as arty as I get with the beautiful water lily quilt. And you know, it's even quick to make. It's pretty amazing. Well, there are 8 fabrics in it, with the 2 darkest fabrics first. And then there's a smooth transition into medium and light to show that reflection in the water. Oh, it's just beautiful. You know, the tubes are cut at random widths and then they're staggered, so they go up and down, so the water appears to be flowing. Oh, it's just beautiful. Well, you need to look for 8 cool fabrics as aqua, teal, turquoise, blue, lime green, and values from light to dark. Now, to show the light reflection in the water, choose 1 or 2 fabrics with small amounts of pinks and yellows. Beautiful. And the fabrics are best if they have mottled texture as batiks. Now, don't use any large scale prints in this one. Well, I already sewed my strips together. I cut them and I stacked them in order with number 1 at the top. This is just like the other quilts. So we're ready to cut. This is 1. I'm just going to take it and cut right along the stitches. This is a 3-inch piece, so just cut a 3-inch piece, cut it number 1, and get rid of it. We are going to go up first. So let me just lay that out. That's one. This is now a 4-inch piece. I want to just go ahead and line up those seams right there. Cut it in half like this, along there, and you'll see the pattern starts going up. Ta-da! Up, and now we've done a whole and a half of one, so now I'm going to just roll it along to number 2, cut along number 2 on the stitches. This is exactly like we've done on the other techniques, but it's just unique because we're showing that reflection in the water. Okay, now we're going up, and once we've gone up with those 3 strips, now we're just going to turn and start going back down again. So take one, fold it in half like this. Put it right like this. So I need some more room. I'm just going to take this quilt and get it out of the way so I can get more strips on. This was a 3-inch strip. Let's just move it over. This is the 4-inch strip. This is 3.5 inches wide. This is 3. Now we're going down. We need just a little 2-inch. Now I have half of one up here, and I actually want to go down now. I went up, so I'm going down. So I'm just going to cut right across the top at 1. Take this and get rid of it. Now this is the tricky part. I want to go to 1 and roll it 1 forward. This is a 2.5-inch strip. I'm going to roll it 1 forward to 8. Ooh, this is getting tricky, huh? Cut 8 in half, and you'll see the pattern is just continuing downward. I have half of 8, and how about let's do the same thing with this big old fat one. Oh my gosh, this one's 4 inches. We're going to roll it completely so we have the stitches right across the top of 8. I am still running out of room. You need a lot of space to get this done. So I'm just going to open one more and show you. And then we'll get on with the water lilies. It's looking good. And here's that nice light reflection going right through the middle of it. It's perfect. Now the water lilies are just beautiful. They come from 3 different colors of pink, and you need to have a green. This is what it looks like, 3 colors of pink, the green, and then the little lily pad at the bottom. So you just take a template for your lily. This is actually the pad. This is non-woven fusible interfacing. Smooth side is on the top. You place the template on top and trace right around the template. Whoa, I'm getting right off the line. And you put the fusible side of the interfacing right sides together to the right side of the fabric. Sew on the line, trim 1/8 inch away, and turn it right side out. Boy, did I do that fast, huh? There's the fusing on the back side, and then each one of the pieces of the lily get all stacked on top as well. Lots of jags, so make sure that you cut right in on those inside curves. But they're ready for fusing right on top. Let me see. Oh, beautiful. Now, you could stitch this down by hand, but you know, that's a 4-letter word in some circles. Or you could also stitch it by machine. Oh, the machine quilting work on this is just beautiful. Okay, you could stitch around the lily by machine. Do the blanket stitch, the blind hem stitch with invisible thread so you don't see it. And then when you're quilting, you can do all of these nice designs, add a lot of dimension to the inside of the petals and then around the outside of the lily pad. So nice. Well, I love the water. It's just like big stipples all through, flowing through the pond. It just kind of waves back and forth, and it looks wonderful. This is the best part. You can just kind of go like that and get it done quickly. Now, the light framing border has a nice cable in it going right along. You can definitely see all of the stitches in that light color. This is a folded border, a 1 1/4 inch strip folded in half, tucked in, and then again, you see that flowing water in the outside border. It's just perfect. Wonderful quilting. So have fun today. and maybe a little frog will hop on your lily pad. During June of 2006, I traveled to Lyon, France with my youngest son Orion and my assistant Sue Bouchard to exhibit at Quilt Expo. Well, we had a great time together, working and sightseeing. And then after the show, Sue and I made a quick trip to Paris by train. Well, when we first arrived, we noticed tin boxes lining the banks of the Seine River. Now we go, what could they possibly contain? Later in the day, shopkeepers raised the lids on the boxes and quickly set up shop. I couldn't resist buying a copy of my favorite water lily painting by Claude Monet. Now, he is one of the most innovative painters, using bold colors and extreme simplicity in his paintings. Now, can you imagine that I carried this painting all the way back from France without crinkling it? Well, the shape of our water lily wall hanging replicates the horizontal format of many of Monet's paintings. Now, if you're fortunate to find fabric painted with water lilies, you can embellish your quilt quite quickly. Well, this is just a beautiful piece of water lily fabric. Just turn it wrong side up and trace the outline on the wrong side, and then place the right side of the fabric against the fusible side of the interfacing. Sew in the lines with a small stitch length, trim them out 1/8 inch away, just clip on those inside curves, turn the whole lily pad right side out. This is what it looks like, just like this. Beautiful. Now, if you want to pad the lily, stuff them with 100% cotton batting and a hemostat. Hemostats are just great. Grab hold of a point in the batting. It's cut exactly the same size. Go right to the hole. You can put it right in and release. And just work and get the batting inside. And then you're ready to fuse the lilies in place. Well, to give it an artistic touch, just space the lilies toward the outside edges, making them easier to stitch around. You know, I think I like my wall hanging almost as much as I like my painting. Well, my sister Patty is an artist by profession, and you can certainly tell by her quilts. She miniaturized the water lily quilt and floated 8 little lily pads in the water. Well, she started out with 11 2-inch strips, and she cut them into tubes, varying in sizes starting at 3 inches wide down to 1.5 inches. The quilting enhances the subject beautifully. The water lilies are echo quilted, and the water appears to be gently floating by into the borders. Oh, it's just beautiful. Well, Monet and his lilies are fun, but fish are just as much fun. This quilt is a lap robe with the same beautiful watercolors, but sewn together with the quick quarter technique. Well, we found wonderful fish fabric that works the same as the water lily fabric. Just stagger the fish swimming in groups across the quilt. Arty, but easy. So go to your studio, just like Monet, and see what beautiful works of art you can create.